Hello, and welcome to Retro Ramble. I'm Charlie McGee.
I'm George McGee.
And this time, dear listeners, we are traveling back to an amazing time in our lives to review, George.
Yes. Oh, you want me to say the title? Well, depending on which territory, but I'm going to give it its full title. So, Leon the Professional.
I'm just not sure. It's like anybody I speak this. I can remember speaking to a guy who I traveled with like for 2 weeks about this film and talking about Assassins with Antonio Banderas. And I told him about this film and he was talking about, we were both talking about the same film because he's like, no, it's not The Professional. And I didn't, until I knew that it was called that, I was like, okay.
So, yes, I think in Europe, it was known as Leon. And in America, it was The Professional. And now, according to IMDb, its full title is Leon, the Professional. Professional.
Okay.
He's not that kind of cleaner.
But you and I would like to let the listeners know, George and I talk about this film a lot because I think we've watched this on and off over the years. The 90s, George and I are no stranger to the 90s. If you've listened before, you know what to expect. So this is going to be a typical Retro Ramble 90s affair, isn't it, George?
Yeah, so if you haven't listened before, Retro Ramble is a look back at the movies that Charlie and I grew up with. So we are brothers. And the whole point of this podcast, it's a lighthearted look back at the films of the 80s, 90s, and, well, noughties, I suppose, as well. We look at how those films came to be, the production stories. We try and dig up some interesting film trivia, alternative casting. Have these films been remade or spun off into a Netflix series? And what made them so great at the time? And do they still hold up? So ultimately, we aim to entertain. We aim to share a bit of trivia. But yes, it's a bit of fun. So we hope you enjoy yourselves along the way. There might be some childish humor and some bad language. So please do not listen with children around.
Yes, and there may be some reinterpretations. We may be, as George said, have they changed? Have they aged? Have they been turned into a Netflix series? Have they basically changed in your mind from being the memory that you thought it was? Are you now
Is the film a lot different than you remember? Which version did you actually watch? We'll get into it.
We're going to get into it. But
because I think it's fair to say there was some controversy around this film. And there's still controversy around this film. But I think we were protected at the time.
All I can say is I did not feel the controversies then. But,
yeah.
Oh my God, was I uncomfortable through serious multiple times during this film. And that's not just because I was forcing my wife to watch those scenes, but, you know.
So this is also a form of therapy for Charlie and I. So thank you again for joining this journey.
So yeah, have you got a trailer ready?
Yes. So it's a Luc Besson movie, 1994, Leon, the Professional, and I'm going to load up the trailer now. Let's get cracking.
Let's talk business. This guy comes to town every Tuesday. Are you free Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm free Tuesday.
You can't stop what you can't see.
This guy came from the outside. He was a pro. He was fast.
In the art of the kill, Leon was the master.
Somebody's coming up. Somebody's serious.
He never missed a hit. He never got caught.
You're indestructible. Bullets slide off you. You played with him.
And above all else, he never had a reason to care. Until now.
I like these calm little moments before the storm.
My family was shot down by DEA officers.
3 kids here. One of them is missing. Find her.
Please open the door. Please.
From the director of La Femme Nikita.
If you don't help me, I'll die tonight. I can feel it.
An innocent girl with no one else to turn to.
What exactly do you do for a living?
Cleaner.
You mean you're a hitman? Cool.
A perfect assassin.
I need you to help me, Leon. I want to get those dirtbags who killed my brother.
With someone to finally believe in.
Change ain't good. Remember that, Leon.
I will.
They're about to come face to face with the cop who's crossed the line.
Bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Lots of explosions.
A lot to unpack in that trailer alone. Where should we start, George?
Well, let's start in first memories. Let's go on the train to first memories.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. Like for me, I don't know if you agree, but video. I'm sure we saw this at the cinema, but I just remember having this on video. I feel like I watched this so much at home or as a student with my mates. Before we had The Matrix, we had Leon. You know.
So yeah, I would say, funnily enough, I remember Dad banging on about this. I think Dad had seen it at the cinema, and it was one of those films that, even though it was lots of violence, I suppose it's not overly graphic in this. It's not gory, which is the kind of thing that puts Dad off usually. But I remember, yeah,
because
Dad,
it's more artistic.
yes, European. Dad does a love. Our father loves, a lot of art house films, a lot of European films. He has, he's been a huge impression on Charlie and I's movie watching, and he got us into films. And yeah, I think he got was, oh yes, boys, you have to see this film. It's fantastic. And so yeah, I think it was one of those, for me, it was probably a rarity, because I would have been 11, I think, at the time. It was a rarity of oh yes, you can totally watch this, even though it's a 15. You can totally watch this because I think it's such an awesome film.
For me, I think the reason Dad liked this film so much is that it really rides the boundary of what you can get away with, and I think the tragedy the film opens with, it's so powerful. Yes, I think the problem Dad had was some. I think we maybe disagree on Tarantino, because you and I got so much out of those films during the 90s. But he was it's too much violence, too much gore.
And it's too flippant, whereas this is obviously it's a very emotional tale.
And it's not over. What I mean is, it's not overly gory. There's some very brutal things happen, but as I saw recently I watched that film Monkey Man, and it's very much, in order for the third act to really deliver, you've got to put them through a terrible first and second act.
Yeah, it's almost like the Greek tragedy sort of type thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the thing I forgot about this, and probably again why Dad probably enjoyed it, it'd be good to get his thoughts on it if he's seen it recently. But it's how stylish it is. It's a very slick. I mean, it's got fantastic cinematography, and the action's very stylized and very cool. There's some really nice shots in it, and you can see why, for a moment or for a few films, Luc Besson was very much in demand, and he was very much a global director. He was becoming, he'd been big. He'd done some great big films or successful films, cult films in France. But this was kind of his calling card for America, I think, unintentionally, which we'll get into. It's a big film that put him on the map globally.
What's I think very interesting about Besson is the fact that he has kept coming back again and again. He started with Nikita, and I think for you and I, I'm not sure how we would categorize him, but there's The Fifth Element. That those stories that he's done, they're remarkable, and you have to include that in this.
I mean,
he's done other versions of the Strong Femme.
Yeah,
with not as good results, but these are good ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're sort of jumping ahead, but I think for me, my favorite film of his is Fifth Element. I think it's utterly bonkers, but it's the amount of imagination that's on the screen is fantastic. I think it's one of my favorite sci-fi films in terms of the vision and scope and bonkersness of it. But yeah, Luc Besson's had a very interesting career in terms of art house stuff, a little bit of sci-fi, and then veering into carving his own sort of own genre in a way. I mean, he's the man that he created those early noughties action films. The Transporter, he's the genius behind the Transporter series. So he effectively gave us Jason Statham, the action star. And I think his company is behind Taken as well. So he's influential on the Jerry action genre as well. So
am I overstating the mark when I ask you, was this not the film that propelled all of that? I mean, what had he done before this?
So I haven't seen, and it was the film that this ties into most is La Femme Nikita. So
which we've both seen and liked, and we both watched both versions. And I remember you and I discussing these. And
not sure if I can't remember. Maybe I have seen the original. I've obviously seen the remake with Jane Fonda.
Story. I don't know.
Bridget Fonda. Sorry,
Bridget Fonda. You probably don't remember this, but I'd seen one, and I think you'd seen some of it as well. And I just remember us having the opinion that we respected the French one, but the Gabriel Byrne one was better because it was more rewatchable because it was English speaking.
Yeah. So I think Subway is a big film that he did, which I think is sort of like sci-fi dystopian in Paris with a young Christophe Lambert. That's 1985. The Big Blue is a film about deep freedivers with Jean Reno. Then there's La Femme Nikita, which was remade as The Assassin, but also had two titles, because I think in America it had the very bland Point of No Return, I think was the title. But yeah, let's go back to La Femme Nikita, because in that film, Jean Reno plays Victor the cleaner. I can't remember exactly who that is in the remake. But yeah, so and obviously he'd worked with Besson on The Big Blue as well. And at this time, Besson was working on The Fifth Element, so like around 93, 94. And because of the scope of The Fifth Element and the production, the budget involved, it was taking longer than expected. So Besson's producer said, well, maybe why don't you do a little film whilst we're trying to get, everything together for The Fifth Element? And for whatever reason, they decide to, I don't know if it was the producer's idea or Besson's, but he decided to spin off the character of Victor the cleaner from La Femme Nikita into his own movie. And so he wrote this script in a month or two, specifically for Jean Reno, and took it to Jean Reno and said, yeah, I've got this movie and I've written it for you, essentially. The fact was, it was almost like a time filler. It wasn't a passion project. It was like, we need to make something fast just to keep the wheels moving, to get your because I almost feel like, like you were saying, this film put him on the map and defined it. But I think it was an accident in some ways of, oh yeah, I'm just going to do this film whilst I can get The Fifth Element made.
Saying that, like, I've seen his other stuff. What was that one with Sophie the monkey or whatever? I've seen his weak stuff. I saw the really cool Mexicana, whatever it was. That was really good as well. But he keeps going back to the strong femme.
Oh, Colombiana.
That was good. Do you know what I mean? And as you're saying, if he's connected with Taken and all the other action films you mentioned, the Romeo Must Die, but he's still making stuff. He's still making stuff. But for me, I really don't. I mean, I'm obviously a 90s fan, but I feel like this was the start of it all.
Well, so yeah, these are some of the films that he is credited as writer and producer. Taxi. So there's 3, I think, Taxi films, or at least 2, and there's the American remake for that. Kiss of the Dragon, not Romeo Must Die, because that's got our friend Jet Li and Checky Cairo and Bridget Fonda. The Transporter, apparently he's producer on Ong Bak.
I remember you and I enjoying that.
District 13, have you seen that? That's a pretty good film.
Is that the free ride?
Yeah, the parkour. Yeah, in post-apocalyptic. It's a bit Judge Dreddy. It's sort of like, the districts in France are now have been shut down. And
I forgot to say before, I watched The Big Blue at somebody's house. I want to say it was the Lajamis, but it was like somewhere where like the day got changed because of rain or whatever. And they're like, put on a film, and it was the dad. I don't even remember what it was like. You will watch this film. This is a good film. Watch it. And like we watched it, and I was like, that is a good film, but I'm also slightly terrified.
Right. So yeah, Transporter, Unleashed was another one with Jet Li. I haven't seen that one. Hitman, yeah, Colombiana, Taken. Yeah, so Jesus Christ, there's 5 taxi movies. There's a lot of taxi movies out there.
I remember watching one of them. It's good.
I've watched the first one.
Yeah, he's changed cinema. Let's make it very clear. That's the most important. He's not just a filmmaker. He's somebody who changed cinema.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a controversial character, which we'll get into later on. But yeah, I think his stamp on cinema, on action cinema, is quite substantial.
Should we get on to? I mean, we've covered, I think, first memories. Can we now cover what it was like to watch it this time?
So yeah, I suppose we'll get into it. So
version tonight, bye.
So yeah, there's the version International, I think, is the version that both you and I have watched on rewatch, because I think we watched the UK/American edit has a lot more of the controversial scenes of the relationship between Leon and Mathilda toned down. Essentially,
I'm not uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable.
Okay, so there's a lot of scenes in the international version. Some of them are about Leon and Mathilda. Some of them are a bit filler. So I don't know if you had. There's like scenes where she's playing Russian roulette. There's a scene where he's training her up more, and they're going round and like he's taking her on more kills. So I'm not sure why that was cut out of the version that we'd seen growing up. But yeah, apparently in test screenings, I think it was in America, where there's the scene where Mathilda asks Leon to be her lover, people just started laughing in the test screening, and they felt really uncomfortable. So they were like, right, let's just cut it for and I'm assuming it must be UK as well. So for UK and America, they cut out all, I think it was about 20 odd minutes. But I remember hearing about it. It was almost like, pre-internet, it was like a fabled cut of, oh yeah, there's a version where it's like a lot more hinted at. Yeah, there's
let's just say I think we have to agree it's handled better from the cinematography point of view, because it's inferred and whatever. I think this shows maybe all of us in Britain who probably saw the version that we're talking about, we didn't have exposure to this thing where, I don't know, it just, I never got that feeling from this film. It was always like, no, it was always like, like a kid has an imaginary friend. There's one scene in the version that you and I remember where they get kicked out of the hotel because she says, he's my lover, he's not my dad. Yeah. We all remember that. And that's like a key central part of the plot. But
it's played for laughs.
It's also, it's played for laughs, and it's also, but like, the fact is, that's obviously the other narrative is that that's a key part of their relationship, which is not important right now.
So yeah, I've done a bit of research, uncomfortable research on this, and Besson apparently claims that Leon has the mind of a 14-year-old, and that was what he kept saying to Jean Reno. Think about this: that you have the mind of a child, so you falling in love with her, there's nothing wrong. Like that's how you should.
14, there's nobody's breaking any laws.
And I watched I think it was an HBO retrospective. And it was 10 years after this was made. Besson's not on it, but his former wife, I want to say, fiance, an French actress called Mai Wen, and she plays, in the credits, she's credited as Blonde Babe. So, the gangster at the start, the blonde girl that leaves his apartment.
Yeah.
So that's a French actress called Mai Wen. And she was married to Besson at the time of writing. And she claims in this documentary that the story was inspired by her and Besson's romance, because they were married when she was 16 but he was 32.
Fine.
However, they met when she was 12 and he was 29. But she said, I had another boyfriend at the time, so nothing happened.
No Tuggy Butchers.
However, she was pregnant when they got married at 16 years old. And then Besson met 19-year-old Mila Jovovich whilst auditioning for Fifth Element, and he's like, "Sorry, baby, I've got a new wife now." So he was then.
It was a crazy time to be alive.
According to Wikipedia, his current wife is lawyer Sarah Soldman, who is 32 years younger than him. So yes, he's been married a few times. But yes, I think the whole point that the fact that this Mai Wen, this actress, is like, oh yeah, you know, it's basically like our relationship, how we met each other. So it is very awkward, and I do feel this with the version I've seen, it does put a very different spin on the film that I remember.
I struggled like you did. I think we have both been exposed to, you know, time passing, age of limitations, and, you know, there used to be controls in place to protect our, you know, tiny little minds from such images. And years have passed, and now George and I both watched a version of Leon that's just left us a bit. It's a bit weird. It's unsettling.
Well, if you look at the passage of time, obviously when I first saw this, I say I was like 11 or 12. And I was just purely focusing on the action side, and I was a very similar age to Mathilda. Now I'm watching it, the full uncut international or international version, and I have a 10-year-old daughter, so obviously my mind is in a very different place. But that's not to say that this is a bad film. I think it just makes it more of a problematic film. I think it's still a very good, emotionally charged action film with some brilliant performances by all three leads.
Yeah, I think it's a standout performance. Like, I just think if we look realistically at this film, you know, we talked about where Besson is now, where he's been. For him and for Natalie Portman, Star Wars, Face of Dior, worldwide superstar, Harvard graduate. No, but you know what I mean. It's like this film was a big thing. It was, and Jean Reno.
Well, no, put them all on the map. I mean, yeah, Jean Reno became an international star. I mean, I remember seeing him popping up in the terrible Godzilla remake only a few years later. But yes, Jean Reno was made an international star. I'm not saying, you know, I feel it's a disservice to say, you know, it made Gary Oldman, but I feel like it did. It was one of the roles that propelled him into proper stardom. And the man continues to be an amazing actor.
But my point would be on Gary Oldman is that it only really counts to him and to everybody else if he's still seen as being relevant. And I feel like we've all seen the meme circulating of this scene of Leon over the years, and I think we've probably seen this scene again and again. And before it was like, oh yeah, I remember Leon. It's great, and it's great for that. But I think his success with what he's doing with Slow Horses is the reason why that meme is now actually appearing more often.
Well, yeah, it's and again, seeing the retrospective, they're saying, you know, the fact that he would play around and dial it up in different scenes, like how zany and crazy he was going to go, like how animated when he's talking about Mozart and he's, you know, the guy's reaching for his gun and stuff like that. And it's, yeah, I feel like it's I say, even though he was an established actor, he'd been in a bunch of films prior to this, I feel this was the film that really cemented him, well, for a long time, as your go-to bad guy. And
one question: when does True Romance happen in relation to
True Romance? Is same year. I think they're both 94. No, True Romance is a year prior. True Romance is 93.
I feel like this is very, very. There's still touches of True Romance about his performance in this.
It's such a performance. It's so menacing, captivating, unpredictable, hilarious. I forgot the one thing about this film. I forgot how much dark humor there is. Like the fact that, you know, he's battling with even all of his cronies are scared of him because he's so unhinged. And it's sort of like when he's like shooting Mathilda's dad repeatedly, and the guy's like, "What are you doing? He's dead." He's like, "But he ruined my suit."
Cray.
Yeah, the man's obviously crazy, and it's such a performance. And the fact is, you know, I've got my notes, like they never make clear what drug he's taking, but it doesn't matter because the man's obviously crazy, Ted.
I'm not sure. I think the drugs don't make him crazy because I don't know which drug in the world you could pour in your mouth and then just like crack your teeth and then be completely 100% stoned like half a second later.
Yeah,
like instantly, and then like it looks like he's like it's a heroin hit. Like what he's doing is like, I'm sure he's done some youth theater on some heroin. You know, it's like he's done it.
Well, I think he's obviously like Stansfield is because he's been so crooked for so long. He's created his own cocktail of super drug in these little pills.
Yeah.
But I like, there's a lot. Again, like looking back on this film, I like that Leon himself is not a typical hitman. You know, if you think of like typical hitman's assassins, they're very sleek, sharp suited, well trimmed. He's downbeat, slightly grubby in his Henley shirts and his beanie. I've got my notes. He's a hipster hitman.
I thought that as well. Watching this, like he turns up in one scene, I was like, this guy was him or Besson was so ahead of their time. It's like, I was like, do they know that in 2010, all hipsters around the world will dress like this?
Well, that's it. The oversized coat, the big wool
trousers,
coat, the teeny weeny beanie. But yeah, and I think that's the thing I remember about this film that that's really sort of imprinted on my memory is it's an interesting take. I think the way it boils down to, whether it's because it's a French cinematographer, and apologies, I don't have his name at hand, but it's a European's view of New York. And in that way, it feels different from a typical New York film. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like New York. It's
I know you're talking about.
It's traditional locales. It's grimy, yet it's sunny because obviously they filmed it in summer. And it's different parts of New York that you wouldn't normally see because I think, is it like Spanish Harlem it's been filmed around?
I think the point that we subconsciously pick up on is that there's very little skyline. It's so
not showy.
Scale. Yeah, it's so small scale. You're just seeing streets. And the way that the streets are shot, it's the same camera angle and distance that he's obviously grown up on in France. And so his streets, he makes them look like Paris streets do. There's no big sky.
Yeah.
There's no big skyscrapes. He just goes for a certain level. So you don't get that towering feeling that you do in some films which respect New York.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's kind of claustrophobic in a way, and I think obviously there's parts of these films that are supposed to be claustrophobic. But interestingly, so yeah, they filmed all the exteriors, and the corridor where Mathilda lives at the start are filmed in New York, but the rest is on a set in Paris. So they've built all those apartments and all those interiors are all, you know, so they filmed once and then it's like, right, fly everyone over to Paris.
Do you know what they did first? Because like, who asked for it to be done like that?
So I think it was a cost thing. I think it was the fact that it was obviously.
But they ended in Paris, or they start in Paris.
I think they start in New York and then they film in the.
New York's so expensive. We've got to go somewhere cheap. Let's go to Paris.
Let's go to Paris. And that's, I've never noticed it before. But again, we're jumping ahead and all over the place. The bit at the end, the finale with the SWAT team leader, and they're all in the balaclavas, and he's talking. He's got a really deep, husky voice. That's all dubbed because all the SWAT guys are French guys, so it's all been dubbed over, and that's why it's you can tell if you like look at how his mouth's moving and stuff. It's a little bit out of sync.
That scene that we're just talking about, that we're not going to talk about in terms of Act 3. I'm willing to wager a guess here. Maybe we didn't have this version that you're talking about, but I think the reason why we forget about that whole aspect of this film is that what do you think George and Charlie McGee did, as soon as they got their hands on the DVD of this,
just skip to the third act.
Do you really think we ever I think we probably we would watch maybe the bit with Gary Oldman killing the family at the beginning, just so that we could be on the side of the protagonist, and then we would skip to the end.
It is a great finale. It's a great, sort of escalation. Sort of it's like keep sending more men, send in the next guys, and it's brilliantly done. I still think that's some great scenes of action cinema there. It was in the behind the scenes. They showed the sort of the making of how they do that shot where the SWAT team's firing the rocket into the apartment, and they had the rocket was on a wire, so it was shooting across on a wire, and then they built like a monorail track into the floor with a camera to follow it along. So you're seeing it like shooting along the floor, following this like little rocket on a wire. It's hilarious watching behind the scenes.
But for me, it's subtle. Maybe I'm imagining things, but I think this inferred so much pop culture. Like I mentioned John Wick before. I also think of Grand Theft Auto, in that what happens in the last scene of this film, it's kind of like what happens to you on Grand Theft Auto when you're hiding in a building and the street cops can't get you. Then it's SWAT. Like I think there's a connection there. I could be imagining it, but the way that the stars escalate, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just what happens to you in America if you turn into a super criminal.
So yeah, let's jump back to, we've talked about Jean Reno, we've talked about Crazy Gary. We haven't really given enough credit to Natalie Portman. So this is obviously her debut. She apparently beat out. I'm not saying beat off. She beat out 2,000 other actresses who tested for the role of Mathilda.
I'm sorry, she beat off how many other actresses?
And obviously she was, I think, 11 or 12 at the time. So her parents were very protective of all the stuff that she was involved in. So get this, because she was handling so many guns in the film, and because this was around the time that the tragedy of, Brandon Lee had happened, they hired a gun expert to train up Natalie Portman. So she was handling the guns like safely, but also very efficiently. And they also negotiated with Besson on the amount of smoking scenes. So you'll notice if you watch carefully, you never see her inhale. You see the cigarette in her hand and you see her about to. And they also said, so you can have her smoking in 5 scenes. She can't inhale and she has to quit over the course of the film. That has to be written into the script. So they had to do a little bit of tweaking there.
But fast forward 2025. It's slow horses, and if you've watched it,
you were talking. You said about this in the last episode about Gary Oldman smoking. If
you've ever smoked before, you watch Gary Oldman because you love him. You can clearly see that this is for me top level. He does not inhale, but he makes it look like he does. And only like somebody who smoked before can notice that. So I just think it was funny that you were talking about that, and we've gone full circle. Yeah, full circle to Gary Oldman today. Don't smoke.
Don't smoke. And so, when they were filming the Paris stuff on the Paris sets, she moved over there with her mum and lived in Paris for a few months and was very happy there. So, do you get this? And I think I remember this like originally. Is Leon supposed to be Italian in this? Because
it's the people he works for.
No, but they say because it's. I don't know if it's just an assumption by Stansfield, because Stansfield says someone's been killing my guys, and someone says he's in it. Where can I find this Italian? Or he was whacked off by time. But is that because he works for Tony?
I think one part of your accusation is true in that they were like, let's just say he's Italian and half the audience won't notice. But I think they also planned for those of us that would scrutinize and say, because Leon says what he does, his dad did for Tony's family.
Yeah.
So I think my belief is that he is Italian. Like an Italian who's moved to, New York.
Yeah. He's an immigrant. And that is something that I think, again, is in this international version, you get a bit more backstory about what happened to Leon. Because in the original, the cut down edit that we grew up with, it's just, he alludes to, oh yeah, you got into this mess before with a girl. But in this one, yeah, you hear about what happened and the fact that he had to flee the country and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think there are some bits of the international version I did enjoy that fleshed out his character and added a bit more to their bonding relationship. But some scenes went too far.
I would actually just say I am a typical guy in that I yearn for the version we grew up with. I think it was enough. I think there's just the artistic nature. It's like it was arty enough. I don't need to know all the other stuff. I don't need the other layers.
Yeah, so I think there's two scenes of note. There's one where they're in a restaurant and she insists she wants to kiss him, and she's getting drunk on champagne, and that's very. I think for me that was probably the most awkward scene.
For me, what was just uncomfortable this time was just like Jean Reno does a very good acting job, but he's reacting to her as if he's on a date. So it's like, even though he's not, anyway, it just feels
Charlie, because he has the mind of a 14-year-old. Remember Luc Besson's advice.
That's not made clear enough in this film.
Yeah.
But we haven't. What should we talk about next? Because I really want to talk about the third act. I really want to talk about how it all comes together.
Let's talk about that, and then I've got some coulda, woulda, shoulda, and some suspicious spin-offs as well.
Wow. Oh God.
No Walken, I'm afraid. No Walken.
It's the 90s. I was available. So where do you want to start?
Well, so you want to talk about the third act?
No, but I mean, come on. I mentioned for me.
I don't think we need to elaborate on it. I think it's got some great, amazing action. I love the cinematography in it, the way it sort of keeps you on your toes. I love the way that they keep sending wave after wave, and when that scene where it's an ingenious thing. It's a little bit James Bond or Indiana Jones, where he's dressed himself up as an injured SWAT guy.
For me, that's the moment, the double switch.
Yeah.
I think that's the finishing move.
And it's like, he's going to get out of this.
He's going to get away with it.
But no. And it's the fact when he walks down the stairs, and you just keep walking down, there's like guys just all lining the stairs.
All
like, how many people have they got?
Everyone.
And yeah, I remember being, it is quite a sad ending, but I suppose it couldn't really end any other way. But it is a great, it's a great sort of, I'm going to take you down with me moment of like, where he just like opens just like, oh.
It's weird how, when I said before, it's not that it's just how I remember this film. I can break it down. It's sort of like, there's a tragedy. He tries to help her. She misinterprets it, and accidentally the cops come after him, and he reacts like you would expect a hitman. It's a much more, do you know what I mean? It's a typical guys type action film without the arty-farty sort of stuff. But I don't know. There's what I like in that is the way that the action is just ratcheted up. Like he's basically on the ceiling like Spider-Man at one point.
Well, it's the fact that they say, and obviously they allude to it in that opening scene where he's taking out the big drug dealers, or taking all the guys out. He's like appearing and disappearing in the shadows. He's, taking the guy. There's that brilliant scene where the guy's like looking over the staircase and gets pulled down. There's some really, really cool stuff there. Again, but again, I think. Besson again, like we talked about with, I think it was Rodriguez. John Woo was ripped off by so many other great directors because he was so influential. So I think Besson's action style definitely has a bit of John Woo to it.
But I feel it forced them to do different things. I think that's why we got all the other types of action films that we had at this time. I think John Woo pushed and was like, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do like slow-mo. I'm going to give a basically a rocker hairstyle guy a double denim suit and have him be chased by a guy with a crossbow, and I'm going to make it work. That's how hot John Woo was back then.
Yeah, he can make it happen. Whereas there is a scene, I think it's in Transporter 1, where someone fires an RPG at Jason Statham and he deflects it using a metal tray.
No, that would work. Technically, they've done studies, George.
I think Jason Statham has done studies,
Enough about Jason Statham. Let's get back to Leon the Professional. So, I think we've covered everything there is to say. I think, have we also kind of covered what it was like to watch this time? And we've talked about how uncomfortable certain scenes were. But I feel like this is a film. I think
yes.
Yeah,
this is a film. Yes.
Okay, and this is a podcast. No, that we've watched a lot. And I mean, when I mean a lot, is that I think we hammered this on video and DVD.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think rightly so. And as you pointed out, it's got some phenomenal sequences in. It's got some great acting. We haven't talked about the soundtrack. So the soundtrack is Eric Serra, who is, I think, a regular collaborator with Luc Besson. I think he did. There's obviously it's very reminiscent of the Fifth Element soundtrack as well.
But isn't there a lot of Six Underground or something on this? Well,
it's not. I think there's Bjork.
Bjork. That's it. Bjork. Yeah.
Venus to a Child. But Eric Serra, Charlie, is what film did he do after Leon? All I'm going to say is porn-esque music, race cars going down the mountain, DB5, Ferrari chasing after each other to porn music. Oh, pew, pew, pew. So yes, Eric Serra, I think off the back of this, got the GoldenEye gig for mostly bad reasons. It's a terrible Bond soundtrack, as we've talked about. But yes, he's got a certain. You're right. It's a little bit Six Underground. There's something there's like electronic sounds that he's using that are like, oh yes, that reminds me of GoldenEye.
Reminds me of GoldenEye and Tony Hawk skateboarding.
Yeah.
it was a time.
It was a time. What a time to be alive. And then at the end, as well as Bjork, we get Release Sting. We get Sting as the closing credits.
Well, Sting will eventually find you.
Geordie Heartthrob Sting.
No, but I mean, he will eventually find you. That's what all films need to understand, is that he is a trained assassin.
What, Sting?
Yeah, and he will find you.
And he will find you.
He will find your soundtrack.
Yeah, that's what I've got for you in terms of. But
okay.
Then,
so I'm starting to ask myself: could anybody else have pulled off a 14-year-old French assassin who's actually Italian and totally not interested in a? Anyway,
your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Who else was considered for certain roles in this film, George?
As I say, when Besson wrote the script, it was written for Jean Reno, and apparently it was always intended for him. However, according to the fact track on the deluxe edition DVD, both Mel Gibson and Keanu Reeves were extremely interested in the role.
Can't see them in Natalie Portman's outfits, though. Can you?
Extremely interested in the role of Mathilda. But speaking of Mathilda, so yeah, I say Natalie Portman went against around 2,000 actors, but apparently that included Liv Tyler. But at the age of 15, she was deemed too old, and Christina Ricci. Are you being unprofessional?
I just think I just had this impression of Luc Besson mustache twiggling. No, too old. No,
I want younger. Give me younger. Give me the younger girls.
Sorry.
Well, you're allowed to do that. You're practically French these days.
When you said she was too old at 15, that's all I could think of. Sorry.
She was only 15.
Exactly.
So you mentioned it earlier. So I've got for suspicious spin-offs. Apparently, it's been claimed that Besson had written a script for a sequel, which was going to be directed by the amazingly named Olivier Megaton. I think he directed at least one of the Transporter films. And Natalie Portman would reprise a role as Mathilda, and it was all about her growing up to become and a cleaner as well, a hitman or hit person. However, the rights were, because it was made by Gaumont Film, they held the rights, and Luc Besson started up his own film company, own movie studio, EuropaCorps. So what he decided to do instead was he wrote a very similar story about a girl that grows up to be an assassin, and that was Colombiana with Zoe Saldana, made in 2011, which I haven't seen, but you have.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's very much. What was the other one with ScarJo was not good. Was with the monkey and the Sophia or something.
Lucy, there you go.
I was close.
Where she takes the drug that makes her see through time and space, and can change everyone's perception of reality.
So what I mean is, I've seen his...
It's nonsense.
Yeah, I've seen his good and his bad, but
I think that's it with Besson. I think he's he's done some good films, he's done some entertaining films, but it's a very patchy CV.
Yeah. But no, I don't know. I like what he did with this film. I like the way he positioned it, the music and everything. And I don't know, this is a big Retro Ramble film for me.
Yeah, I say I think it's a big film for me as well. I am looking forward to, I've had The Fifth Element high up on my list to cover. We might cover that maybe next year. But yeah, that I remember just being sort of blown away watching that. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's a bit all over the place. It's got another great zany Gary Oldman role. But yeah, I think that's a real sort of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
It's just, for me, it's in that perfect time of cinema. Like, this was the time of The Rock, Con Air, and Fifth Element. This was a crazy time, but we got some great films.
Air Force One, another great Gary Oldman.
Starship Troopers could have done.
Lost in Space, not great. Gary Oldman,
okay.
No.
Okay, Dracula, not good. Okay, let's just move on.
Oh, Dracula is. When was the last time you watched Dracula?
It's been a long time. It's the one with. I'm right. It's the same film with the one with Keanu doing.
Yeah, so we went and watched it a couple of years ago for a work Halloween thing. We went and watched it in the Newcastle Keep, almost like old castle type thing. And someone I was with had never seen it before. Was like, "What's it like?" It's like, it's like the most expensive panto you've ever seen. It looks gorgeous. It's got amazing costumes and the set design, everything. But yeah, everyone is in lots of different films and Andy Hopkins. It's a great film, but probably for all the wrong reasons. Everyone is dialed up to 11, if not 13.
I think that's a recommendation.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's bonkers. I think that's it for Leon ... The Professional.
I think what I would like to do now to kind of rinse my mind is to watch the version of it that we grew up with again sometime soon. Not too long way, just so I can that is a nicer, less questions, less questions are asked at the end.
Well, I was going to say, or it's time for something completely different, because I was going to say to you, it is next month will be our Halloween episode, and we're finally going to do Event Horizon. So we'll just have a few sleepless nights instead.
Oh my
That'll
God.
completely purge your mind.
I've been looking forward to seeing that film for a long, long time. I've also been putting off watching it again. So
I've owned it. I think I've owned it for some time. I think I've had it on iTunes or Google for like several years, but I'm still like, no, I'm not ready to go back to it, and I don't want to watch it alone.
Just watch it in the daylight. That's my advice.
Yeah. It's like that time I was around at yours playing Alien Isolation during the day. Nope, still too much. Still too much. Get rid of it.
I think I've been watching a bit too much Alien recently. I watched Alien 4. Just to keep in the mood of
Aliens, yeah.
Which I think we're going to be covering on our podcast at some point. So watch this space.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it's worth giving. If you do enjoy Retro Ramble and you want to hear more Retro Ramble, there's plenty more on our Patreon channel, where we cover the films that we missed first time around, and we also do chat about what more recent stuff. So, as Charlie alluded to there, we have been watching the new Alien Earth TV series, so we're going to be chatting about that. Other alien sounds that the mics can't pick up because they're so high pitched. But yeah, we've been talking recently about some of the summer blockbusters. So the new Superman, the F1 movie. We talked about Andor. So yeah, there's lots of things on our Patreon channel. There's a whole heap of James Bond content if you're into that. So yes, that's patreon.com/Retro Ramble.
Yes, and keep the comments coming and running. So yeah, it's been very good to go back. I don't know why we took a long time to get back to this film. You know, we alternate between 80s and 90s, and this was a film that we probably would have covered, I think, in our first year. But there's just other films to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, for some reason, when we were putting together that initial shortlist, I think it probably did feature on that. But yeah, we did it eventually. We'll get around to them all.
Yeah. Okay, well, for this episode, I've been Charlie McGee.
I've been George McGee.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.